Your Honor, why do you feel that you are the best qualified candidate to be our next CJ?
If you wish to do Kenya a favor, and a big one for that matter, here we are. We offer ourselves to demonstrate to Kenya that these things are doable. And we can do them in style and simplicity. I am simple, I am straightforward, I am reliable, extraordinary, and organized. If this is not the person you're looking for, we can debate that. But in me, you have that and extras.
The last thing you want in the office of the Chief Justice is a person who is not a go-getter. The last thing you want is a person who is not a maverick. And the last thing you want is a person who doesn't want to win everything that he gets into. So this institution needs a leader. But that leader has to have certain styles. And you need to only look at what I've achieved to know that it's never been alone. I work as a team.
All right, that's just a sneak peek of some two candidates who appeared last week. I believe it was on Thursday and Friday. But the others, including Justice Martha Koome from the Court of Appeal, Justice Said Chitembwe from the High Court, and also these Professor Patricia Mbote, who appeared there on Tuesday. And let me begin with you, SG Sifuna, because you're the lawyer here. Yes, we have another lawyer, of course. But SG Sifuna, looking at the interviews the first week of this, are you convinced that we're gearing towards getting the appropriate candidate? And from all those five, do you see any potential?
I think the natural end of it is that we will end up with a Chief Justice. But for me, the process has been nothing more than a spectacle. And if it is spectacle that people wanted, it certainly delivered. In my very humble opinion, and you know I have a lot of respect for members of the JSC and even the people who are being interviewed there. But really, I don't believe that this process is the very best process to end up with a person who's essentially the head of one arm of government. I have been disappointed by some of the line of questioning. Some of the commissioners feel like the interviews are about them. We have seen very long, winding statements from some of them. You ask yourself where the question is, you can't see the question. Others appear to have, personal issues with some of the interviewees. As a member of the Law Society, of course, I am a bit disappointed that we don't have the full complement of commissioners from the LSK. Because of our own internal issues, we do not have the female representative of the Law Society in the JSC. So, you know, in terms of spectacle, for sure, if you look at interviews for, like, the most famous Supreme Court in the world is the US Supreme Court. If you look at the interviews and the sort of questions that go to try and bring out a judge's philosophy, the legal philosophy, his view of the world and the main issues, sometimes the process here pales by comparison. I don't know which one it was, but some of the questions that were asked to one of the candidates are akin to the questions that we ask students from the law school who are looking for pupillage in our chambers. I was a bit embarrassed because at the level of Chief Justice, really, we should be going way beyond questioning on whether somebody knows the ratio decidenda in Rylands versus Fletcher. It should be about who you are, whether you have an understanding of how the country works, the position that you are applying for. We should take at a very minimum, because it is the JSC that shortlisted these people. So we must assume that the basic elements were covered, like your basic understanding of the law was covered during shortlisting. But then when you start asking people questions that are essentially pupillage level, it is a bit disappointing. But I hope that at the end of the day, because I know that many of the women and men that have been shortlisted are people who are very well versed in the law. Many of them, like the ones who have been on the bench for some time, they have the wherewithal to steer the judiciary ahead. So I wish all the best to all the candidates, and I hope that beyond the spectacle, we will be able to unearth somebody who can lead the judiciary.
Okay. All right, let's listen to some more episodes from those interviews before we can spread the question.
The solution for this is negotiation, talking to the other arms of government, trying to make them understand what's importance the judiciary, what role the judiciary plays. They know, but maybe because I don't know some of the reasons, like giving this example, I don't know the reasons. So I don't need resources to go and ask, why haven't these judges been sworn in?
So we must discuss this issue of 41 with the president in that atmosphere of we are serving Kenyans, all of us, and we are concerned about the administration of justice, and we find out where the problem is, resolve it, and get the judges in office. When the CJ is seen with the president, they are discussing matters on administration of justice, that everybody is responsible. It's not a beauty contest, who serves Kenya better. Is it the executive, the judiciary? We are all in it.
All right, that is Justice Martha Koome and Justice Said Chitembwe, and they are talking about the standoff of about 41 judges, of course, so far not appointed. And you hear Edwin Sifuna there saying that he was disappointed by some of the line of questioning. We'll be looking at that because I think I know what he is referring to. But first, Senator Linturi, 5 days into it, have you seen a potential candidate?
Unfortunately, I've not had the opportunity to watch the interviews, and probably I may not now be the right suitor to make comments on the performance of either of the candidates that have been interviewed. But from at a personal level, I can only say that you know, the performance of the judiciary, whoever has gone to any court to seek any redress, as is our own feeling about the administration of justice in this country. And what I would be looking for, or I would urge the next Chief Justice to do, is to come up with a serious system on administering judges in the country, so that at least this justice is faster, efficient, and timely. Because Kenyans, this idea of waiting for courts to determine cases in 10 years is really hurting. So any candidate that won't be able to give that solution, to me, is a candidate we should consider. A candidate that is devoid of any blemish, any kind of perception in terms of influence, whether executive influence or whichever, must be a candidate that you must always be willing to consider. A candidate that will be able to bring in confidence, a candidate that will be able to inspire the others. Because one of the reasons that we have a serious problem in this country is that when we have a leadership in the judiciary, and judiciary which is supposed or required to be able to be a serious arbiter in the normal disputes that we have between ourselves and the law enforcers, when it's perceived to be taking sides. So and especially, let me say this, and especially at this particular critical time, where Parliament itself is not able to resist executive influence. When Parliament is used to do bad things, we require a sober, strong judiciary, and that is what I would be looking for, as the JESC tries to get us a team leader in the judiciary, because in my view is very, very critical. A strictly to the Constitution, a strictly to the law, someone who is supposed to serve everyone else and who understands that we are supposed to all be equal to the law.
But Dr. Chris Wamalwa, some may argue that David Maraga was probably one such person like Senator Linturi is referring to, but others will say that because of his focus, he may have suffered, or the two institutions may have suffered from proper relations. So as we go through this process, the line of questioning at the JSC has just been about, or has been about the 41 judges standoff, the independence of the judiciary, talking about the past careers of all these interviewees. But moving forward, how then do you properly ensure the independence of an institution and efficiency, because of the people keeps talking about the backlog? How do you ensure that through this process of recruitment?
Now, first and foremost, before maybe I comment on that, on this process, I think the way they performed is average, and Chief Justice is at a strategic position of the organization.
The candidates or the interviewers?
Both. As far as I'm concerned, I've not seen somebody who has demonstrated clearly that he can be able to take over the CEO of the judiciary among the ones who have been interviewed. Maybe this coming week, we expect to see people, because they've been watching anyway, so we expect them to do better. But coming to the kind of questioning, notwithstanding the legal philosophy, this is a person who is going to hold a strategic position of the organization. So the questions you ask must be strategic in nature. Unfortunately, these questions they've been asking, they are more of operational. When you go to any organizations, there are layers, there's a hierarchy. We have those at the top, which is called the strategic level. We have the middle operational, and the lower one is functional. So some of the questions they were asking, to me, they'll suit operational level as opposed to the strategic level. And some of the critical questions come to the strategic level here is about leadership. Because this is a CJ who is going to be in charge of the entire value chain as far as delivery of justice is concerned. So the critical thing is about leadership, which was lacking. The questions to do with leadership were only about 5%. So majority of the questions were more of operational, the legal philosophy. But here we are looking at the CEO, who is the president. He's supposed to provide strategic leadership of the organization.
Right.
Issues to do with management of staff, because you are going to be in charge of the entire staff, starting from the lower level to the top level. Now, looking at the interviews, in fact, I have a problem with the shortlisting. To me, the shortlisting looks biased. But if you look at the background of the people who have been shortlisted, you know, we want the face of Kenya. But the majority who are shortlisted, they are skewed.
How?
Coming from a certain region of the country. You must have seen, you know them. And it was being asked.
How
so
do you
I have an
allege
issue.
that at a
No,
time?
I have an issue.
Just a
because
moment.
among the people who are shortlisted, 10 of them, look at where the region they come from. It's like,
But you
it's
can
a
only shortlist
conspiracy,
those
like
that
they
apply.
want it to come from a specific region. Yes. Even look at the composition of JSC itself. You know, Supreme Court, it is a presidential petition court. You can't avoid politics from this court. So Kenyans are very keen. They want to see. These people who are interviewers. I tried to make some tabulations, and about 40% or so are biased from a specific region. Obviously, it is demonstrated on the outcome of the 10 shortlists. Just look at it and
Dr.
see
Chris
which
Omalo,
regions they come from. It's already skewed.
Dr. Chris Omalo, you allege that the nomination, or rather the shortlisting, is skewed. I'm just wondering, would you...
The face of Kenya.
Would you shortlist someone who has not applied for the job? Because only 13 applied, 10 were shortlisted.
In fact, they should not have shortlisted 10. They should have shortlisted 5. Because there are some who found their way there. They didn't deserve that. They should have shortlisted 5 instead of this drama for 2 weeks, so that they take 1 week, they finish by next week, they get one name, because the president here is just a conveyor belt, and I do support that the JSC sent one name, as opposed to earlier where they used to send that 3, you pick one. For purposes of independence.
So where is the bias? Because Professor Otinga Mare and Brian Matagaro were not shortlisted, and another one.
If 13 applied,
and 10 were shortlisted.
It is simple statistics. Look at the 13, I mean the 10 were shortlisted. Look at the background they come from. Because we want the face of Kenya. To me, I have a problem with that shortlisting. It was done in a way as if they want a predetermined, that we want a CJ to come from a certain region. Just look at some regions. I don't want to go into details, but it's a simple maths.
I'm asking this, Dr. Omalo, and forgive me for insisting. 13 people applied. 10 were shortlisted, apart from Otinga Mare, Brian Matagaro, and Joseph Sergon. Who did you want to be shortlisted?
So I wanted from 13, they should have shortlisted 5. By them going to 10.
Who are those 5 that you'd have wanted to see?
Even the people who, among the 10, some of them didn't deserve to be shortlisted. I don't want to mention names because it might influence the decision.
So why is the bias?
To me,
I mean, if they
even
do deserve to be shortlisted, they'll still fail
also
the
look at the ethnic background. I mean, it's common sense. Look at the ethnic background. The majority of the people who found their names there, which regions they come from?
The people that applied.
Okay. You know, some things is common sense.
It's those who are willing to apply.
Some things is common sense. If 13 applicants were there, we want to have Supreme Court with the face of Kenya. That is one thing you need to know. I don't see why you should shortlist about 3 or 4 people from one region. To me, it's totally unacceptable. That's why I had, my opinion is, from 13, they should have shortlisted to 5. Against? There are those many names which are there, which are not supposed to have found their way
So let me ask, because if you had to talk about regions and ethnicity, are you supposed to discriminate some people because of their ethnicity? Yet they qualify in all other aspects?
When you talk of regional balance, it's common sense that when you talk of regional balance, you must increase the probability that this position can go to either side. But the moment those people go into the shortlist, majority come from a specific region, it goes in somebody's mind that you are trying to conspiracy so that you increase the chances of this particular person coming from that region.
Okay, let's listen to some conversation between one candidate and the JSC.
Are we still together?
You've lost me. I'm not sure even you are with the question.
Yes, I am.
Please repeat it.
I am with the question because I'm the person asking the question. It took me time to come up with the question.
Okay.
So I know the question. You will hear that the judiciary must exercise restraint. In fact, if I left it there and I said discuss, what would senior counsel say?
You know, you make it sound, Commissioner Mwilo, like we are in an exam. I'll answer it by answering a question that I had expected Madam Chair to ask me as I started. What is my judicial philosophy? Then that way I will give you an answer that stands in a certain position.
That is on the one that we are covering right now. That actually is my area.
Madam, I will answer your question in the way that I see fit. So please give me a bit of time.
Okay, we give him a bit of time. What do you think in this process and how we are going to get a Chief Justice that really delivers on the justice agenda, but also helps in the relationship between the different arms of government?
You know, first of all, I will not go into Chris's debate, which is very interesting, by the way, and how Kenyans look at things. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, on how Kenyans, we look at things now politically. That's what Chris has just done. But then I'll say, first, to congratulate even the few women who were bold enough to just put themselves there, and they've gone through their interview. And I appreciate, I mean, if I look at what they've done, I want to say they were given interesting questions, but they were able to go through without being emotional.
What does interesting mean?
Interesting, even as Council Murgo has said, you ask a question and you'll wonder, you want that question to be answered how, but it's okay. I think that's how JSC does it. But I want to say also, Majanja has been very objective in his questions. You appreciate, you listen to it, you are able, even as a layperson, to understand what has he just asked. And I think for the rest, as also Sifuna said, SG, that you make it as if it's a very exam thing. What we would wish to see, and as they continue, is that there are many things in the end of the day you find that ends in court. And I want to see where they will answer us a few questions that people have gone through a lot. And I wish they would bring even their own case studies. That this case has been in court, this land case has been in court 30 years. You as the Chief Justice, what would you bring as a reform to ensure issues of family, especially family, we should not be more than 6 months, because this is their property, their parents have passed on, and children are just angling and fighting things that they were given by their parents. You, as the Chief Justice, can come in and stop them and even remove them from court and tell them, go for arbitration. This is a family issue. You have to, you know, because you are in a case, not because you are stealing from each other. You're in a case just because my father gave me this and I did not get this. We were not there when it was being shared. But this is just property. So you make a family angle in poverty, 30 years, they are waiting. They are even dying, leaving it. Those are some of the things Kenyans would want to see. Kenyans would want to see cases that are really touching them as persons. Insurance cases, how are you going to reform? Trade cases where people just are in court for, you know, those reforms. Then now let us come to the political reforms. How do you work with Parliament? How do you work with this executive to see things move? How do you ensure you don't bring in, look at how we have made the court is where we take all the problems that we know we do. For example, a tender. So this tender costs Kenyans. Why are we paying loans now? We are paying big loans because even some of these tenders remained in court. And we have not seen them happen because they went to court. Instead of you looking at it in a manner of saying, this is Kenyans' property, money.
And so, Honorable Elachi, if that's what Kenyans want...
No, I'm just saying, for example...
Do you believe this process then will give us someone who can do that job?
I'm trying to see, because I haven't seen somebody being asked. Kenyans are now saying IMF should not give us money. Reasons, part of it is that we have come, we've had this tender, somebody came to court. But you, as the judicial, did not look at it and say, this is money that has already been taken as a loan that is supposed to start with this. And you give this person and tell him, look, you want to put this, and this is for government, and government is using public resources to do these things. You cannot make it stay here for more than 3 months. Because it has to move so that they see that project start, so that even if Kenyans are paying, they are paying seeing things that are happening. But right now, even as we fight and say there are many loans, there are many of those projects have been held into this judiciary until we've reached a point. We've started even paying money maybe that we have not even spent in a project. So I would wish to see questions that will make us understand, yes, you are independent, but you are working also for public for the public, the way legislature does. You'll find us pushing Parliament. Oh, Parliament, you cannot stay with this law for this term. Then Parliament does its work. It comes to executive. The same. Executive, even those implementing, should understand where Kenyans have reached. It's in a point of where they want to see.
Justice Koome has said that serving Kenyans is not a beauty contest on who serves.
Exactly, it's not a beauty contest. I agree with that.
And Honorable Kositany, because we know that the next Chief Justice out of this process, that will be the President of the Supreme Court, and be very instrumental, not individually, but also in terms of offering leadership, especially if there's a presidential election petition. So should that be such a serious factor after lessons of 2017 and how your team, I don't know whether you still feel the same, were very agitated by the decision that was made then. But also when you look at the age of candidates, is it a factor because the Constitution allows them to serve for a period of 10 years or until they turn 70? Some of them are below the age of 60, so meaning they would be in the Supreme Court for longer than their tenure of 10 years, should they wish to do so. Are these factors?
Well, Sam, I think this is a very important discussion. My biggest concern is why only 13 applied? Out of the variety and the experience that we know, legal minds that we have in this country, it should concern us Kenyans that only 13 applied for the post of the Chief Justice. Meaning, maybe, and I'm just giving maybe, I don't have any facts, is that maybe because of the treatment of what Justice Maraga went through, it put off serious people. I believe that these are not the 13 are not the best brains that we have. There are many others. These are good brains, and there are many others like them who would have applied. But maybe people have lost confidence on how you're going to perform, whether you're going to have the free hand to run as the president, the judiciary, as you so wish. So that is the point of...
what are they afraid of?
I don't know. Maybe because of the working relationship with the executive and the chief,
but the current administration is exiting next August.
Yes, it is exiting next August, and there's going to be a lot that the incoming Chief Justice will have to oversee before the next election. And people have been put off because of that, because it doesn't make sense that only 13 people applied. But for me, what I would like to see the new Chief Justice is somebody who will seriously stand for the independence of the judiciary. I've always said that whenever there are excesses from the executive, our point of last resort is the judiciary. We want the judiciary, president of the judiciary, who will act fairly, who will treat all cases with the fairness that they deserve, so that Kenyans feel at least they have a place. They have a place for them to run to. The other issue, and that has been mentioned by the panelists here, is the issue of the speed of delivery of justice. Remember, they say justice delayed is justice denied. We have cases that have been in the judiciary for many years, many years, 30 years, 34 years. People, great-grandchildren are now taking over cases that their fathers or their parents were handling. And I think we need first somebody who will come up and see how to handle, first of all, cases that have taken too long, and find a formula, as Elachi here has said, whereby we can actually have justice speeded up. Okay. And somehow look at some of the things that come before that people run to court over issues that actually can be sorted out through arbitration. So I think the incoming Chief Justice will have a lot on their table, but biggest concern, why did only 30?
And on the question of age, because CJ Mutunga came into office at the age of 64, he served for about 5-6 years. Justice Maraga came in at 66, served for just 4 years. Should you get a senior citizen or a younger CJ this time?
Age is just a number. So even if you are given 1 month, you can do a lot within that 1 month, and age catches up with you. So I think age shouldn't be an issue. They can get a younger person, they can get an older person, but we want somebody who will deliver and who will be firm.
SG Sifuna, I want to exit this topic from this topic with you. From your circles as lawyers, what do you think is the desired age of a CJ? I mean, this is informal, without discrimination based on the Constitution, but what is the desired age, looking at the tenure, for how long they'll be in office? But also, with all the challenges that are going on, do you think it's in the power of the CJ to fix at a time that there has been all these actions meted against the judiciary by the executive and sometimes through Parliament?
First, let me start with the two things that my friend Caleb has said, one that I agree with and another that I will have to push back on. The loudest, I think, silence in terms of applications came from the Supreme Court. And that none of the current members of the court chose to apply is something that says, probably talks to what Caleb was speaking about. That indeed we were denied the benefit of all the good talent and brains, especially those that are currently at the Apex Court. That they chose not to apply is probably out of the experience that they had. Now, Caleb cannot also run away from his role as a member of parliament in the experiences that the judges have gone through. If he understands that independence of the judiciary has something to do with even the financing of the judiciary, I would like to revisit the Hansard and see what Caleb said or how he voted when they went after the financing of the judiciary in the infamous revisiting as members of the Jubilee parliamentary group. And there have been other very serious threats to the independence of the judiciary that have been, been presided over by the Jubilee Party. So it is not something that a member of parliament can run away from. Even delays in delivery of justice, Honorable Kositani. Money is a factor of that, because the judiciary has always argued that for as long as they don't have enough resources to properly resource the judiciary, to open more courts, to be able to hire more judges, it is a factor of money. And when you are gleefully taking away 1 billion shillings from their budget because you are upset that they threw out your election victory, you are a direct cause of the problems in the judiciary. So I think that that is something you need to consider. To your question, I think there is nothing like a preferred age. But the truth of the matter is that because of the structure of the courts, Supreme Court being the apex court, sometimes it takes a lot of time because, you know, experience is something that is desired in that court. And it takes a lot of time for you to process yourself as a legal, you know, scholar or a legal practitioner for you to be able to end up in a court as high as the Supreme Court. So that whereas people might argue that they do not want to see a Chief Justice who stays in the court for too long, it is also very difficult for you to get there. It takes years of experience, even if you are not practicing law, even if you are in academia. And you look at the CVs of the people who are being interviewed and the ones who are shortlisted, you will see that it takes a lot of time for you to get there at the apex court. Very few have been lucky to get in at a relatively young age. But I think the thinking always is that the Chief Justice should not hang around too long after he has finished his term.
Okay, all right, very interesting. And Dr. Chris Omala, I want us to take a short break because it's time. When we come back, we'll be talking about the future of politics. Of course, you have seen what's happening. IBC recruitment is just about to happen, but also you've seen the Deputy President speaking so candidly about his relationship with the Jubilee administration and his boss specifically, but also saying on his future alliances, saying that he's not in any plan to have conversations on coalitions with Raila Odinga and others, saying that's his best competitor. We have this and much after the break.